Hey everybody, it's the Board Game Blogger. Today I'm here to review Grunwald. Now this is a really fun game. It's kind of mostly a worker placement game, and it's set in the early 15th century, and you sort of play nobles of Poland, equipping the Polish army to go fight the Teutonic Knights. It's just a really unique theme. And the mechanics really are good and fun. Oftentimes I'm really tough on Euro games that don't have good player interaction, but this game has wonderful player interaction. It's really a good game. It plays quick. You're going to play in about an hour, and it's just a great theme. Wonderful mechanics that have that high player interaction, and it's a lot of fun. And I'm not sure what it is with Polish games, but there's a lot of really good Polish games with unique themes, coming out recently. And maybe Poland just generally is more patriotic than most other countries, because it's just these historical Polish themes with wonderful mechanics. There's Mali Pistansky, the game where you're playing the Boy Scouts, delivering messages during the Warsaw Uprising. You've got Q, where you're in line to get goods in Soviet era Poland. You've got the new strike game where you're playing Lech Walesa, trying to have a strike in the Soviet era. You have this game, which is wonderful when the Poles fought against the Teutonic Knights, the Battle of Grunwald. It's a wonderful game that really has a unique theme, good art, good mechanics, and plays quick. I think the one big negative of the game is I don't think it's colorblind friendly. It's 2 to 4 players. Plays well with 2, 3 or 4. It scales well, and there's specific rules to play with it. And I really do think this plays well with 2. Oftentimes games, I think, that are 2 to 4, they don't really play that well with 2. This one does. This one plays quite well with 2. But the big negative with this game is it's not really colorblind friendly. You've got your pawns, and of the 4 colors they chose, it was yellow, and then green, red, and purple, which if you're colorblind is not the best combination, and you just have your pawn, and so you can't really see. I mean, you can easily change it yourself, I guess, and draw symbols on the different pawns to be able to see, but it's too bad the game didn't come a little bit more colorblind friendly. But I'm sure you want to see sort of the mechanics, how the game actually plays. Wonderful theme, wonderful mechanics, highly interactive, which I really like. Let's take a look at the game now. So here's the board on setup, and some of you may be thinking, well, why haven't you gone into the rules? You normally, explain what you think of the rules. That's because the rules are in Polish, which I don't speak, so I don't really know how well written the rules are or not. I got this English translation just printed out on BGG. And so I don't know how well this person's translated it, if it's accurate to the Polish rules. So I can't really go into how well the Polish rule book's written. The translation, I've been able to figure out how to play the game, and the rules, such as my understanding of them, pretty straightforward, and the rule book should have been well written, but I just can't comment on that. But here's the game on setup. What we have up on the very top is the turn order track, and so we have 8 turns, and you can see the first 3 turns do not have this symbol here. You zoom in a little bit more, this kind of Teutonic Knight symbol, and these are the Teutonic Knight cards that you have some sort of skirmishes before the big battle. So you will be fighting those, the different players collectively, but it doesn't happen in the first 3 turns. because of the fact that there's a truce kind of at this time. So with this truce, there's not going to be any battles. But then the truce gets broken, and the players then will fight the Teutonic Knights. And that's an important aspect of the game. But mostly it's kind of a worker placement. And it's really interesting how that works. So here we have the Teutonic Knight cards. Here we have the event cards, and they have different unique things. There's no events on the very first turn, but then they're all sort of different type events. Now it's in Polish, but someone on Board Game Geek was kind enough to put English translations, so I can see what all the cards mean. I suppose if I really wanted to, I could cut these out and glue them on top of the cards, but I've chosen not to do that. Then what you have here are sort of nobles that you recruit into the army. You have provisions, money, and then mercenaries, and then you have some more pawns. So everyone here starts, they're going to have their kind of officer and then 2 helpers. They're going to start with $3 and 1 provision. And I'll just play through a turn here, and you'll see how it goes. So first thing that would happen if there was an event, that would be revealed, it would take effect, and then we'd flip over the cards that are active. Again, the Teutonic Knights don't come in until the 4th round. So we'll flip over, and so these are knights that you can get into your sort of retinue. We have provisions, and we have money, and then we have some mercenaries to hire. So now what will happen is players will take turns, starting with the start player, and we'll be placing down basically their workers to one of the various fields to try to gain their benefit. Now the large pawn is worth 2 on resolution, and these smaller pawns here are worth 1. And the interesting thing is you can choose to place either your large pawn or your small pawns on an action, and the person who places first is going to have priority for a certain area. So let's say here we have the knights. Now there's a 3 knight and a 2 knight, and only these 2 knights are going to be taken. And I've set up here for a 3-player game. It is 2 to 4 players, and there's special rules in a 2-player game. So in a 2-player game, only one of these knights is going to be picked up at the end of the turn. The other one's just going to be discarded. So the red player says, oh, okay, it's important to start building up the army. So they're going to place their big pawn there. That's worth 2. So let's say purple has decided to place their 2 there. The tiebreaker is who's placed first, who's furthest left, and red's going to win this tiebreaker and be the first. But let's just sort of continue going here. The green player, they think it's important to get another pawn to start getting more pawns for future turns. That's something you don't want to neglect, and this is going to earn the green player, if they win that, another pawn. The purple player thinks it's important to get some money. They will go there, and now it's back to the red player. Let's say the red player wanted to get the provisions. That's important because at the end of the game you're going to have provisions to supply your army. Any that you don't have enough provisions for, any excess troops are going to just have to get discarded. You're not going to score points for them. So for instance, let's say the red player decides to put one of their pawns down there. They cannot, on a future action, place a second small pawn. When you're placing small pawns on an area, you're going to have to place as many as you want for there. So now, for instance, the purple or the green player on their turn could put down 2, and now the red player has no way of reinforcing that. The red player could, for instance, place another pawn here, small one where they already have a large one. That's an allowable move. So I think that's kind of an interesting mechanism. You now have the purple player. They're going to place one here. They think it's important to get another pawn. It goes back to the red player. They're going to place one down here on the mercenaries. And the green players placed all their pawns, so it's back to the purple player, and they're going to go there. Now what's happened is we're going to resolve in order. So we have the red player. They're the winner here. They have 2 to 1. So they get to take a card first. So they get to pick, who's joining their retinue. And so they will pick, obviously, the larger number, the 3. That's going to go into their hand. And the purple player will get the 2. You can see the artwork's different for each one. It's really well done, beautiful art. Now we have here the provisions. So the green player wins 2 to 1. So they will get 4 provisions, and then the red player will get 3. So we go over here to the stockpile and get 3 for the red player. That will go into theirs. And they have 4 for the green player. The purple player is going to get 5 ducats. That'll be useful later on. We now have the pawn resolution here. So the person who wins gets a free pawn, and that will go to the green player. And then the person who's second can buy a pawn, and they have to spend basically however many small pawns they currently have in cost. So they have 2. They have this one and this one. That's everyone starts with 2 small pawns. So they're going to have to spend 2 to the bank to actually get another pawn. Now here we have the mercenaries. And mercenaries, when you place someone down there, I actually did that wrong. You're going to have to spend an amount. So you could put money down. So you put down your pawn with your bid amount, because mercenaries only kind of respond to the highest bidder. So here it's 1 ducat. It's more than anyone else has offered. No one else is actually offering anything. So this will here go to the red player. And then this dollar goes to the bank, and the pawns are all returned. And we just sort of clean off the board. This one, no one hired this mercenary, so it's simply discarded. And then we advance to the second turn. We're going to flip over an event. I've got to check the translation there. And this event is the Teutonic Knights attack Brest-Litovsk. Each of the players loses 1 helper. The helpers should be placed on the helpers field on the board. So that can be pretty devastating, especially to the red player who didn't purchase another helper. So everyone's putting 1 helper back there. So that can be kind of devastating. And again, these cards are shuffled up randomly. You're not going to have all events take place. There's more events than there are turns, and you don't know when it's coming out. Then we would flip these over. You can see here the provisions, only the first player is going to get any provisions this turn. We flip over some cards, see, we've got some powerful knights to hire this time, and some more mercenaries. So that's sort of how it is, and then we proceed with another turn. Now, I want to just kind of jump ahead and just show what would happen, on the 4th turn once we're fighting some actual Teutonic Knights. So let's say it's later on in the game and we're fighting some of the Teutonic Knights. So we'll flip over and just see, the strength of who we're fighting. Now, if no one's committed to fight these Teutonic Knights in a skirmish battle, they can really do some damage collectively to the players. So here this is a strength of 5 that's combined. And in a 3-player game, it's assumed that they add an additional 4 strength. So the Teutonic Knight strength in the battle is going to be 9. So let's say the players don't contribute anyone to go fight them. Then the difference is 9, and the players are all going to have to lose basically 9 points. And that is, potentially knights from their hand that add up. So here the green player, he's got a 1 and a 4. He'd be losing 5 strength. He'd also have to lose some provisions. So it can be really devastating. But the way players will choose to commit to fight these knights is, they'll place just 1 pawn. It doesn't matter, where in order you're fighting them, where you're placing them. Unlike order normally matters for everything else, against the Teutonic Knights it doesn't matter. And then players are going to take from their hand and commit. So this is the purple player's hand. Now everyone starts with a 0, kind of a bluff card. So, you can pretend you're not actually committing that much to the Teutonic Knights battle. But let's say, this is the hand for purple. So they're going to pick a card, and it's going to be put down face down, and then simultaneously revealed once all the players selected. So we'll do that. The purple player will put in a card, the green player and the red, and then they'll all be sort of revealed. And it doesn't matter if it's a noble knight or if it's a mercenary. So here we have 9, 15. So that beats the 9 put out by the Teutonic Knights, because there's sort of a default of 4 in a 3-player game, plus 1 in another 4. So here the Polish, coalition has won, and in addition to that, they're going to get some points. So here the purple player has committed the 6, which is the highest knight value. He's contributed the most to this battle. So he'll get this 4 Teutonic card. He'll pick which one it is, obviously the higher number, and this will go into his camp. And then the red player will get this 1. And those are worth points at the end of the game. And now these are going to be face up in front of the player. So in a future battle, the purple player can't commit this powerful 6 again. He'll score it at the end of the game, but in a skirmish battle he can't commit it. He can only use these uncommitted cards. And that's sort of how the battles work. It's kind of a neat mechanism. You can definitely do some bluffing, having some table talk about it, and that's sort of how the game works. Now the final endgame scoring is you're going to have provisions for all your knights here. So let's say the purple player just ended with 2 provisions. That was how they ended the game. They didn't really collect enough provisions. Now you don't have to provide for the Teutonic Knights that you capture. You're going to just score for that. But you're going to have to provide for all sort of the knights in your retinue, including the ones who are in your camp. So here, obviously you don't have to provide for the peasants because it's only worth 0 anyway, so you can check that. But here, the purple player is going to have to get rid of, one of his knights that he hasn't provided for. Obviously the lower scoring one. So he'll get rid of that. And then he has the provisions to provide for the knights. And then he'll simply score the points for the knights earned. So here he has 4 for the Teutonic Knights captured, 6 for this knight, so 10 and 15. So he'll have 15 points left over. Additionally, there's some bonus scoring things That is, the person who has the most mercenaries, they're going to get 1 point for each mercenary card they own, irregardless of the point value. It's the same thing for the knights. And then there's the quartermaster bonus, which is whoever has the most provisions left over beyond the knight, meeting the knight's needs, they're going to score 1 point for each provision. Additionally, money is worth something. You get 1 point for each 2 ducats, or $2, and that's the game. It's plays quick, but interesting decisions each time. How you're setting up. Are you spending to get more actions in future turns, or do you really want to get maybe a high, powerful 6 knight, or be the only one to get these 4 provisions here? That can be like a game changer at the end. So just interesting decisions. High player interaction. What you're spending to fight the Teutonic Knights, and just blocking, and you kind of had this action, an auction, because whoever spends the most money on the mercenaries wins. Kind of does not matter where you're placing in turn order unless it's the same amount you're bidding. You can also spend money on the provision amount. That counts as 1 point, whereas getting money, you can only commit pawns. You would spend money if you're the second player to try to get another helper, but not the first. Interesting decisions. The event deck is going to play havoc. You've got some beneficial events and some events that are malices. So it's really interesting. I like the game. It's tight. It's just total trying to outsmart your opposing player, trying to block them. The way the pawns work is, if you're committing the smaller ones, you can't, do it piecemeal. You can't, add one on one go and then add another. You're going to have to commit them all to a specific area at once if you're going for that area. It's just, a neat mechanism. I like the way you're fighting the Teutonic Knights, and you're going to all have to kind of work together, all, sync together. Just a very fun game. Plays quick, under an hour. I highly recommend it if you can pick up a copy. Till next time on the Board Game Blogger.